That's why I entered the Unexpected Game Jam. I had 2 weeks to make a game that was in some way unexpected. In most game jams, there's a secret theme that's revealed at the start of the jam, but that wasn't the case with this one, so I had some time to think about what I could make before I started it. I didn't actually use any of that time though, so when the jam started, I had to come up with an idea. I really wanted an excuse to make one of those isometric room renders that people post online a lot, and that got me thinking about making an escape room game. I had to find a way to make it unexpected though, which made me think of a riddle I had heard a while ago. You are in a concrete room with no doors or windows. The only things in the room are a mirror and a table. How do you escape? I'll give you time to pause the video and try to figure it out, but the solution's pretty weird. You look in the mirror, you see what you saw, you use that saw to cut the table in half, and 2 halves make a hole, so you jump through the hole. Personally, I don't think it's that good of a riddle, but it did seem like a good game idea, so I stuck with it. For this to work though, the player would have to interact with the game entirely through text, so I decided it should work like a text adventure game. I still kept the isometric room though to make it look cooler. Now that I had the idea down, I started making a list of homonyms that could work well with an escape game. Here are some examples of good ones I found. Most of them are nouns because those are easier to implement, but I kept cool because I really liked the idea of showing that something is cool by putting sunglasses on it. Now that the idea was fairly solid, I could start working on the code of the game. I started with the UI so that I could focus fully on implementing levels once I had designed some. For the layout, I went with a terminal on the right side of the screen and the isometric room on the left. Most of the work at this point was spent getting the text input to work properly. Once I had gotten it to work properly, I could start designing the levels. For the first room, I wanted a letter, so to make reading the letter required, I put the code to a safe on it. Then, I just put the key to the door in the safe to keep it simple. This room is kind of like a tutorial. The escape room part of it is really simple, so that all of the players' efforts are on figuring out how to use the commands correctly. They'll only be able to pass this level if they know how the game works, so when I'm making the second level, I can assume that they do know how it works. I designed the rest of the rooms out of order. I started with room 3 as the room that introduces the homonyms. I knew that this room had to be simple like the first one, so I went with the straightforward approach of using key. There's a keyboard in the room, and to escape, you need a key. To make sure there wasn't too big of a jump in difficulty from room 3 to 4, I decided to make rooms 2 and 4 be basically the same room, but with room 4 you have to use a homonym. I decided to use cool in case I didn't get the chance to later, so I put a fridge in room 4. As I mentioned earlier, coolness will be represented by sunglasses, so room 2 needs a pair of those. Then there needs to be something that becomes cool, so I went with a rubber duck because those have eyes and I had one on my desk that I could use for reference. Finally, I needed something to use the sunglasses on to open the door, and I came up with this weird statue with a light pointed at its eyes. Since room 2 didn't have a fridge, I just threw a cardboard box in there to fill space. Something that I haven't mentioned up until now is that each of the rooms and all of the items in them needed descriptions so that the user could know things about them other than what they see on the picture. Every time the room changed, some of the descriptions needed to be changed. Like if the player picked up the letter, the description for the table should remove any references to having a letter on it. When I realized this in room 1, I just made anything that changed the room also swap out the descriptions, and this was fine until I started implementing rooms 2 and 4. Since those rooms were more complex, there were more things to keep track of in the descriptions, and every time something changed, it had to check a bunch of other parts of the room to determine which of like 8 different descriptions to use. I didn't have time to implement a better system, so I just powered on through. If I did have more time though, I probably would have made the description system more modular, so that when something in the room changed, it just set a variable and generated new descriptions from those variables. By the time I had finished room 4, the jam was almost over, so I threw together a "You win" screen and submitted the game. I'm really happy with how it turned out and the response that it's gotten. I want to thank everyone who commented, as the comments are great for feedback, and they let me know which bugs I missed, like text going off the bottom of the screen and the game crashing whenever you try to put the duck on the table. I should probably fix that. I streamed this whole process to my Twitch channel, where I'm going to be streaming a variety of programming and art stuff. I plan on making more videos like this in the future, so subscribe if you want to see more. There are links in the description to the things I mentioned, and thanks for watching!